Hello everyone and welcome to mojo4industry development debate on manufacturing safety sponsored by Mesa Cutting Systems India Private Limited. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Subhajit Roy, founder editor of mojo4industry, India's first mobile journalism platform for industry. We are going to discuss and debate on the steps to be taken to ensure safety in manufacturing facilities or shop floor. And I'm glad to welcome our distinguished panelists today. We have with us Mr. P.L. Muthusekar, Managing Director, Nord Drive Systems India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Prashant Chaturvedi, GM Marketing, Mesa Cutting Systems India. Mr. S. Sanmuganathan, DGM Mesa Cutting Systems India. Mr. Amarkant Jha, CGM Technical Center, Amada, India. And Mr. Sandeep Roy, Regional Head East, VDMA, India. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our opening speaker, Mr. Muthusekar. We are going to request him to set the tone of the session by highlighting status of manufacturing safety in India and talk about best safety practices incorporated in his own manufacturing facility.
I'm happy to open this debate of manufacturing safety. Manufacturing safety actually should not be there because it should be an inbuilt culture. Safety should be an inbuilt culture, but today the need is you have to produce safety, you have to manufacture safety, you have to publish safety. We need to do in this entire debate is we need to focus more on she. She is a very important factor. What is she? She means it stands for S for safety, H for health, E for environment. So all this three is very important. Safety, health, and environment. I think that should be the kind of focus where the industry needs today, debate and discussions. And I am very happy to participate in this. Of course, there is a lot of learning curve, and Nord is already a supplier for Messer Cutting, and Messer is the sponsor for this event. So happy to join in that reason also. Do very well in terms of, or we know the problem. If the problem is stated well, I think half of the problem is solved. The same way, I think on the safety, first of all, we have to state the problems and we have to discuss that what best practices available and what are the solutions possible, and we have to learn from each other. I think that's going to help us in terms of reaching the she factor. 4C in safety. What is that 4C in safety? One is coaching, second is communication, third is commitment, and fourth is consistency. These are the four important C's in the safety. If these four C's are taken, we can foresee a better tomorrow. Thank you very much. And maybe during the discussions, I will describe about what best practices in Nord we are having. And this year, we are doing a zero accident year for Nord India.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muthusekar, for such an insightful presentation on the importance of she and 4 C's in our day-to-day life, especially in the life of a manufacturer. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Prashant Chaturvedi. Today, Mr. Prashant will talk on hazards associated with oxyfuel, plasma, and laser cutting systems.
Mesa India started in 2009 in Coimbatore with a rented place. Then we shifted to our own facility in 2013. And later on, we have expanded our facility with the laser cutting plant in India. We have a complete range of people who do these trainings, safety training across India, placed across every industrial. So gentlemen, you all know that safety is an investment for better tomorrow. At times it is counted under expense, but frankly, it is never. And you see that many times in a plant, even small equipments that we are talking of, when we talk of a normal fabrication happening, we see that many times small or big accident, including hose burst or a regulator getting blown off or a regulator inlet connection getting sheared off, many such small incidents happen, but these are absolutely dangerous for the plant. At times, there are duplications of few products in the market that lead to, sometimes, hazardous accidents in the plant. The cutting torches, industry were earlier using 2-pipe cutting torches. When we use 2-pipe cutting torches, the heating oxygen and the heating fuel are mixed and they in the handle and they move on. So if an accident has to occur, it will happen in the handle. Whereas the new age torches, like what Messer promotes, the manual torches, It's totally nozzle mixing. Now, after that, a lot of companies have come up with these torches, but the primary the torches come, they are called 3-pipe torches or NM torches, nozzle mixing. The gases will mix in the nozzle. So even if in a eventuality a small backfire takes place, it happens around 500, half a meter away from the hands of the operator. So you are much, much safer. As such, they are very much backfire resistant. You just know there are many reasons. You have to be very careful. The right regulator, no loose connections. There should be no block tip, right cylinder pressure, because anything mismatched leads to backfires and flashbacks in these systems. And flashback arresters are the most important devices, as you all know. They have 4 important components: the inlet filter, the gas non-return valve, the flame arrestor, and the temperature sensitive cutoff valve that actually makes the complete flashback. Please don't get mistaken by a non-return valve as a flashback arrestor. The testing is important. Once in a year, we do these services. Now, these are the most common regulators that you see inside a plant. But don't feel like, all right, this is just a piece of equipment. That also has a lot of features and inbuilt safety so that it gives you the desired safety in your plant. It needs to have the right forged brass body, then it needs to have the safety valve, and it needs to have the cleaning, what we call as the oil cleaning. Everything is incorporated. The standards are ISO 2503. At times when we use LPG in industry, people just use an on-off valve that you see on the right side. This is giving the total LPG pressure. Cylinder pressures in LPG can be as high as 8 bars during summer. So this can go in your hose, whereas what you require is only 0.5 bar of pressure. So for LPG or the fuel gas. So these are not the recommended industrial regulators. You have a complete range of industrial LPG regulators that you should use. And the most small common factor, the hoses. At times we neglect these simple guys in the plant, feeling they're not important. So we will spend, on the air conditions and everything, but we will not buy the hose clamps. We will use wires or something at times in the plant, which should never be permitted. No cracked or hoses which have holes in them can be used, because they can be potential leakage areas and they may further lead to fires. Cylinders should be respected. Many times cylinders are the most, what we call as the poor guys sitting across, but they inside have huge pressure, and if they crack, the walls crack, they can lead like a projectile across the plant. So we should give them utmost respect in terms of safety walls, safety guards, right storage methods. They should not be stored like this that we see sometimes. This is not the way to handle the cylinders. Never ever. The writers, Mr. Shanmuganathan, to take it over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. And we talk about safety in welding quickly. So the most common process, arc welding, MIG welding, TIG welding. And the most common hazard we face with welding is the shock, electrical shock, or the hazard of electrocution. This can be fatal at times. With monsoon around, we know people are wet and they have the tendency of getting a shock very fast. So we have to be very careful with the PPE we use. And when it comes to the equipment, we have to use fully insulated electrode holders, fully insulated earth clamps, which are compliant to EN standards. Comes to MIG welding and TIG welding, go with the OEM torch better. And please check the duty cycle of your machine and the equipment torch or the electrode holder that you are using, so that you can avoid this kind of hazards. And when we talk about welding cables, the current carrying cables, we have to go in always for HOFR welding cables to have protection against heat, oil, and fire related hazards. Go for IS 9857 compliant cables. Always check the diameter of the conductor, because most of the time what we find in the market is there is undersizing in the cable conductors, and that leads to a lot of problems like heating of the cables, burning of the cables, smoke coming out, and of course bad weld quality. So better would be to go in for reputed make HOFR welding cables. And when we use long cables, we cannot obviously have a full length cable always, so we have to do connections. Avoid doing a crude connection method. Go in for a banner type cable connector, which you can connect and disconnect at ease. And once the connection is made, this joint becomes fully insulated, and this can avoid sparks in your shop floor area. And the other hazard, which all welders and people with related to welding must be knowing, is the arc eye. or when you see a welding arc directly, you injure your eyesight. And if you do it continuously, there is a chance that it can lead to blindness also, because welding arcs have both UV as well as IR radiation, and these are hazardous. So when you do arc welding, you have to use a shade 11 protective glass, a welding helmet or a hand shield can be used. When you do TIG welding or MIG welding, you have to go in for shade 12 and shade 13 respectively. And when you are doing welding of aluminum, you should go in for a shade 14 glass in your helmet or a hand screen. And when you are doing arc plasma cutting or gas cutting, you have to use a shade 6 goggle. So these goggles that you see here are basically for plasma as well as for oxyfuel cutting. Hand shields and helmets are for other types of welding. And if you're welding in the open, your arc can hurt others. So better to have a temporary enclosure with welding curtains, which are as per IS specifications, so that the passersby will not get affected by your welding arc. Other most common hazard with welding is heat and spatter. If we wear the right PPE, the right kind of welding gloves, which are as per EN standards, you can wear them for longer time and you can be protected against these things. And the sleeve guard, the leg guard, the shoulder guard, and the full body apron are all available for welders. And the most commonly hazard in welding is the smoke part of it. And any kind of welding, there will be some amount of smoke. So if you're welding in an open yard or in a large workshop, the ventilator fans will take care of the smoke part. They blow it away from you. But in cases where you're working in a confined space, it is better to have a fume extraction system in handy. There are portable machines available. There are dedicated extraction systems that can be made for workshops, and there are bigger systems also available. So better to have a fume extraction system if you are working in a closed enclosure or in an area where there is very less ventilation. And the welder should always have all the PPEs in place. He should always have the right kind of welding gloves, the apron and everything. There is no place for style, or there is no compromise on the PPEs, because whatever you wear, the heat and spatter can damage it. So better to have the right kind of PPEs in place. So that was from me. Thank you.
Now in this episode of Development Debate on Manufacturing Safety, sponsored by Mesa Cutting Systems India Private Limited, I would like to invite Mr. Sandeep Roy, Regional Head East, VDMA India. Mr. Roy will talk on the importance of safety in manufacturing and contribution of VDMA in promoting safety. Welcome, Mr. Roy.
Friends from the industry, Mr. Shubhajit Roy, founder, editor of the mojo4industry and the moderator of today's sessions, supported by the Mesa Cutting, one of the VDMA members. Thank you very much for inviting me for today's web seminar to share our thoughts to this August forum. Friends, as you are all aware, the importance of the safety. As we know, the workplace safety is all about ensuring the people are doing their job in a right way, with zero or very little chance of getting hurt, sick, or killed. It involves every member of the workforce, encompasses the numerous processes and technologies, and requires the constant vigilance and training. If you remember, in the early days of traditional manufacturing, when our other priorities get in the way, companies were under the constant pressure to stay competitive, keep the costs down, deal with the supply chain disruption, and increase the productivity, adapt to the new technologies, hire and retain the skilled workers, and manage countless other realities of doing business. As a result, safety starts to look like a drain on the company's time as well as the resources. But here is the catch. Today's world, manufacturing safety does more than saves lives. It also saves money. I have jotted down 5 points to share with that. First, it is the most effective way to keep people safe and manage risk. Second, it is required by the law. Third, it's cheaper than alternative. So in earlier days, if you go into factories or also in the production sites, you always see in the slogan, production first, safety must. However, the workplace safety become an integral part in the modern manufacturing. The slogan becomes safety first, production must, which promotes not only the development, but also the sustainable development for the organization. Hence, from the association perspective, it is our message to the industries: prepare and prevent, don't repair and repent. For the VDMA members who are having manufacturing facilities in India, in recognition to their commitment towards energy efficient manufacturing, inculcating a best work condition, and adopting best safety practices and systems, in their organization a benchmark with the best in the corresponding sectors within the industries. The awards are conferred under large category and medium and small category. Apart from the safety of the human being, VDMA, along with the development wing of the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation, Government of Germany, called GIZ, is planning to move a pilot project of making safe machines as standards in India. So this is slightly beyond humans. So as an association of machinery manufacturers, VDMA decided to do this program on a pilot project. The objective of the project is to bring awareness among the machine users as well as the producer is enhanced. The technical personnel of the users and producers are trained. The industry is prepared for the implementation of the new technical regulation. What are the key benefits of this project is occupational safety of the workers in India are improved. Domestic and the foreign producer of the high quality machines will be better able to compete in the Indian market. The local companies will have a better access to the international markets as a result of the adopting the international standards. With that, thank you very much.
And thanks, Mr. Roy, for sharing your thoughts on the importance of safety in manufacturing and contribution of VDMA in promoting safety.
Right.
And now I would like to invite Mr. Amar Kancha, CGM Technical Center, Amada, India, Private Limited, to present his presentation. He is going to discuss on the best practices for working with sheet metal.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amar Khan, and I am working at Bangalore Technical Center and looking after the customer support function of Amada, India. Nowadays, fiber laser machine is one of the most important equipment in sheet metal shop. As a leader, we take utmost care while designing a laser machine for human safety. The laser beam can be hazardous to human safety. The laser beam basically falls in class 4 category, but we make sure that the entire fiber laser machine comes with the safety partition, the light curtain, the safety equipments like the dust collector, goggles, so that it doesn't affect human. 5S actually is, I will say, it is a basic of safety. So if we have a good plant which is working with a 5S system, you can simply say this plant would be following the safety measures. The first S is Siri, or sorting the things. So actually, we have the habit of collecting many things even in our house, which may not be useful to us in near future. So the first thing what we say is remove what you don't need. Don't make a clutter things. Remove the items like the broken, unusable, occasionally used from your working area. This is the first S. The second S is Seton. Here we can see it's very difficult to find out the punch, right kind of punch, right kind of die. So almost many customers have the storage of the punch and die like this, and finding a particular die or a particular punch from this set of things is like a nightmare. And most of the time the operator keep on searching, and basically you are losing on the productivity. So the second S means that whatever items you have, you must label it and keep it in a proper place so that whenever you need it, you should be able to find it quickly. The third S is CISO, or keep the things neat and clean. Now here you can see example of our technical center, like how we try to maintain behind the machines, nearby the machine, because if this area is not cleaned properly, it may cause accidents. Next S is previous slide, please. Yeah, is following SOP, that is SICS2, standardize the things. You standardize all the activity and follow this SOP for that. And the 5 is to maintain this 4S, that is Shitsuke. That means whatever procedure you have made in your system or in your factory, you must follow it. And how you can follow it? You must encourage your staff. You provide them with some rewards and some team building activities. So definitely this system, it will not only improve your productivity, product quality. At the same time, we have observed the safety concern is also addressed using a good 5S concept. We also educate our users to follow the right method of operating the machinery. These posters are stick near the machine so that customer can follow the right kind of safety procedure. If you see, the bending is a very, very critical operation. How to hold the material, what should be the direction of the punch, and how to avoid pinching of your fingers. These are very, very critical. So when the customer comes to our technical center, vocational center, we explain them how to operate the machinery well. Thank you very much for attention and giving time to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jha. Viewers, now we are going to have the most interacting session of this particular webinar today. We're going to have a panel discussion and debate on the steps to be taken to ensure safety in manufacturing facilities or shop floor. The event is sponsored by Mesa Cutting Systems India Private Limited. I would request all our panelists to join me for this interesting session. To start with, again, Mr. Muthusegar, from where you left, would you like to discuss or would you like to highlight some of the important steps to be taken to ensure safety in manufacturing facilities or shop floor?
Steps what we follow is basically is we have a safety committee. In fact, we believe in committees. We have about 10 to 12 committees in different functions and different efficiency improvement and operation level. So one of the committee is basically the safety committee, and which constitutes a member of right from production to HR, admin to all other departments. So they do an audit every year. They do 4 audits. So when they do 4 audits, I think the findings come out, and that is where we bring in the improvements. Back to the committee, I think we have various activities. First is embedding the safety as a culture. So that's what we believe as and we practice also. And second is a role of technology improvement in safety activities. It could be, the one example what I mentioned about the automatic light switch on. The same way, there are plenty of other small activities, color coding, and of course the Kaizen and the 5S kind of what Amarnath also spoke about. So these are all the practices or the technologies for improving the safety. The next comes is basically the in terms of factory visit. So when somebody visits the factory, how the entire flow has to take place. So we have made a 9-station concept and demonstrated very well. It's called as a nod walk. So the nod walk means it's a well-guided tour. When somebody comes inside, it could be a college student who is coming for a skill development or a training program. It could be a visitor, our customer coming, or it could be some press people coming. So we take through this nod walk. So that completely guides them to the tour. It's not just showing about the nod factory and the nod products. It also shows about the applications, and it talks about the features what we have. It's an audio is also available. So that's what we take through the guests when they come to the factory. So each and every steps are taken care, and the committee is responsible for this. And no board member, of course, the board members are only required for CSR or certain kind of committees. Otherwise, only the employee level, they take care of this safety audits and safety committee.
Thank you so much, sir. So, Mr. Basant, would you like to highlight or would you like to share your thoughts on the steps to be taken to ensure safety in manufacturing facilities? That's the topic of the day.
If possible, from our participants today, someone, if he is nearby Coimbatore or later on when the traveling restrictions are reduced, do visit the Messer factory in Coimbatore. I may tell you, I should not talk big about that, but at the same time, let me also assure you, it's one of the most clean, tidy, well safety managed, facilities. Not a very big one. It's in around 6 acres of land, but it is so well maintained because our managing director also is equally concerned about safety. That's on the top of his priority. We also have similar structures. There are general safety meetings at employee level. So they themselves discuss the hits and the misses. If there was a small injury or something like that, what has happened, what was the method there, and what corrective actions people have to take. So that also is discussed at all levels. So now there is also a walkthrough. So like, we get experts and they walk through the plant and they identify that which segment of the plant looks to be a little unsafe. So many places, we have this type of a barricading, and then we have caging where we feel that, a plate can come out and hit someone or something like that. Those all areas are barricaded, caging is done. So what I sometimes feel is safety is not a very big theory subject. Safety is a very high level of common sense, and it is a bunch of small activities that you can always do. And it is also a completely, what I feel is an ongoing process. I feel continuous improvement, taking feedback, evaluating and implementing is one of the most key factors of improving the overall plant safety. The reception and the interiors of the office, there is a spending, but when you go down the workshop, at times I feel that the real spending, the minimum necessity things are not there in many of our plants. So this is the mindset that should really change, and we should agree. And I don't mean that it should be the most expensive equipments for the operators and everything, but the bare minimum basic safety standard equipment should be coming more and more. So people, the organizers, the management and the owners should really start putting a little bit clear cut funding, that from our turnover have 1% or whatever have gone in safety equipments purchases or not, that just to take a judgment whether the people are rightly given the the PPEs and other related safety stuff or some safety projects in the plant. That would really help the industry to gauge them whether they are really doing what they are supposed to do. Otherwise, without safety, you can definitely go on, the things go on, but when they bang, it's too late, as I told in the presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Shah, you are into sheet metal industry for such a long time. Would you like to add your comments on manufacturing facilities, how they can be made more safer?
Actually, if you see the sheet metal industry, whenever you visit a sheet metal industry, most of the customers are medium scale or small scale companies. And the type of work they do is very, very hard, I will say. Hard in the sense, too much of sheet everywhere, too much chaotic factory. And when we discuss about the 5S, because we know that if we are making them to understand how to keep the sheets, because now you know that sheets have the very sharp edges. Now, if you don't keep your part, if you don't keep your raw material correctly on a pallet, definitely somebody is going to hit it and get some scratches or some cuts and all those things. So for us, it was very, very difficult initially to make them understand that a 5S is required in any kind of a setup, and especially for the sheet metal. If you don't maintain your factory, so you lose on the safety, you lose on the product quality, and definitely the company's bottom line also is affected because of that. Now I will say that many of the companies, many of the customers who visit us in the technical center, in the occupational center, so they agree to our viewpoint, they try to improve their facility, and we have seen a lot of changes.
So, Mr. Sandeep, now that the manufacturing facilities are opening up, could you share your thoughts on rebooting manufacturing safety post-lockdown? We might be having good feedback from the industry.
From Mr. Chaturvedi's message, being from the outside of the manufacturing, So as we are talking about when somebody comes from the outside, you can say on that. The whole definition of safety changed last year, actually. When we included the human safety because of the disease that we came, which was not a part of the standard SOPs that was actually being framed in the manufacturing segments there actually. So working people, bringing them work together in a shift, maintaining the distance, do gaj ki duriya, so and produce at a time. So this segments, this concept, I think, needs to be incorporated in the future SOPs for the manufacturing sectors when they come across a similar kind of a threat in future, because future we don't know, it is uncertain. So from that perspective, I think this is the one area which is actually needs to be implemented as a standard part of that. This is one. Second is I think we have the government, National Disaster Management Authority has already framed a SOP for the rebooting the manufacturing segments after the Vizag accident last year. So I think these are the steps have been quite in details, what needs to be followed, particularly when the factories are not operating for a longer period of time. Unlock 2.0, I would say, is not that way is affected 1.0. Mostly the manufacturing facilities are working across India. So that way, I think it's already the companies knows what is to be done and they are already doing their jobs best, what I feel from the association perspective. That's it from my side.
Thank you so much to our panelists for answering those questions. Before concluding today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. P.L. Muthusekar sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Prasant Chaturvedi, Mr. S. Shanmuganathan, Mr. Amar Kanja, thank you so much for turning up, and Mr. Sandeep Royji, thanks for making it. It was a pleasure to have all of you with us today. We thank sponsor of this mojo4industry development debate on manufacturing safety, Messer Cutting Systems India Private Limited. Thank you so much, Messer. So this concludes this webinar. Goodbye and thank you so much, all of you.
Please don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell icon. Also, to access industry news on the go, visit our website www.mojo4industry.com. Goodbye.